Hello everybody, welcome to the latest edition of Goodison Park, my home. I'm very excited today. It's took us a while to get this one sorted, but I'm delighted an absolute Everton legends join me today. Derek Temple scored the winning goal in the 1966 FA Cup final. We'll come to that all in good time, Derek, but if we start at the beginning, just first of all, I mean, how are you this morning?
Very well, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, glad you were able to come in and join us here at the ECHO studios here, the ECHO office. I mean, when you first started out at Everton, I mean, how did that all come about? I believe you had your pick, really. You're a bit of a prolific schoolboy goal scorer.
It was. We had a very good Liverpool schoolboys team at the time, and I was playing centre forward, and I originally, when it started out, I didn't have a pair of football boots at school.
Okay.
Because I was one of 6 children.
Right.
And money was tight, so I had to borrow boots, and I often borrowed boots that creased me to play in because they were too small.
Right,
sort of different lads.
Yeah.
But anyway, managed. But I could knock the goals in, and I played for Liverpool schoolboys, Lancashire schoolboys, and I played one game for England schoolboys. And it gets you noticed, of course, by all the different clubs. And going on from there, I had Liverpool came out to see me, wanted to sign me. Everton came out. What's the name were interested, but they didn't actually arrive. Man United and Wolves. But anyway, I don't know what it was. There was a chap was manager of Liverpool, Don Welsh. Don Welsh, yes. And he was a nice man, but he didn't impress me somehow. I must have been, when I was a kid, I must have been a serious kid because he was cracking jokes and laughing at his own jokes. And, and didn't impress me.
All right.
I don't know. But, and funnily enough, Liverpool offered me more money to go on the staff than Everton did.
Okay.
But I decided to join Everton. And I've still no inkling why, because I never supported either.
Right, okay.
I never went to the games, of course. As I said, money was tight.
Yeah, okay. But we've got to probably remember that back then, Liverpool obviously weren't the force they are now. But obviously it proved an inspired move for yourself. And just what also might be interesting for our viewers is at the time when you made your debut, Everton didn't have a manager as such, in that it was Ian Buchan who had the title, the first team coach, which seems very modern now. But
yes,
do you remember much about your debut and playing under him?
Yeah, well, he didn't come out to see me at home. It was a chap named Harold Pickering.
Okay,
who was like an admin. His title was admin officer, I think, administrative officer. But he had a funny reputation. It was like expenses. It was 2 bob for you and 2 bob for him.
Okay. Right. Okay. Smooth operator.
That was the story. But I wouldn't surprise me. But anyway, So it went from there. I went on the ground staff at Everton, and I used to cycle in. I used to cycle into the ground. And
how far was that from home?
I reckon it was 5 miles.
Okay.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kept you fit from the start, didn't it? I was just checking that in terms of your debut. Is that right? Was it Newcastle United, 1957? Do you actually remember playing at Goodison for the first time? Well, for the first team game, what was it like? What can you tell us?
Well, it was a memorable game because Dave had been away and I'd been playing centre forward in his absence. I wasn't the same build as Dave or as robust, but I was still knocking in the goals, but because I was always quick. That was, I think modern day, you must have pace, I think. If you haven't, you're going to struggle. But anyway, that got me out of a lot of holes,
Yeah.
But, they had a couple of, well, certainly one player, a goalkeeper, making his debut, as well as me making my debut for Everton. And every cross, I was playing centre-forward, as I say. ECHO hadn't come back to the club then.
Yeah, so you were number 9, yeah.
Yeah, and I had a goalkeeper. Have you got the teams there, teams? No.
I've not got it in front of me.
His name was Mitchell.
Okay.
He was a young lad. And every ball that came across, I was jumping for with him, and he was dropping them.
Okay.
And Schooler came over, and he said, "Get your so-and-so knees up."
Yeah.
And next ball that came over, his knees came up and it hit me in the solar plexus. And it was the worst feeling I ever had in football, actually, because the wind just went out my lungs.
Yeah.
They just emptied, just a compressed one. And he couldn't get a breath in. Your lungs wouldn't work, sort of thing. They need it to slowly build up again. But anyway, slowly it did.
Yeah.
But then it was sunny and it went sort of grey, and I thought, must be dying here. I don't like the look of this.
This is your debut, yeah.
But what it was Schooler, who was captain of Newcastle. Yeah. He was stood across me, and he said, "Yes, for that, you little
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was welcome to the First Division.
Later on, he went right over the top of the ball for me. I don't know how I got away with that, because he could have broken my leg easily.
Really? Wow.
So I was lucky in that respect.
And only a couple of weeks later, so was it? And you got you've got your first goal the following week at Sheffield Wednesday.
Apparently, yes.
You don't remember much about that one, but
no.
But what was Ian Buchan like to play for? Because I said he didn't have this the title manager. He was more of a fitness man, wasn't he?
He was a physical education lecturer at Loughborough College.
Yeah.
I think he played for, is it Queen's Park in Scotland?
Okay, the amateurs.
Play at Hampden, don't
right,
they? Right, yeah. But he wasn't, he had us fit. He built a gym in the corner of Gladys Street, under Gladys Street in the corner. And that was great for me, because I was only young, but the older players didn't like it.
They didn't like that, did they?
Pushing weights. And... but he was a hell of a nice man.
Yeah.
And I was thankful to him, because he gave me my debut, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And he said to me, "You'll play for England one day." And he was right. I did play for England for one day and one game.
Yeah,
but he was right.
I'll come to that. He'd made a big contribution, to be fair.
Yes.
So then all of a sudden, well, I say all of a sudden, but you obviously was coming like all young men at that time. It's something in the news now, because Rishi Sunak has proposed it. He wants to bring it back, but national service, and then you lost a couple of years of your career. Are you able to describe actually what happened there?
Yes, well, came into Liverpool I got the brown envelope saying you're required to go for a medical, and came into Liverpool. I don't know where it was, but it was there were offices like this, and not clear glass, but private offices.
Yeah.
And that's where they were doing individual medicals. I called people in, and outside there was a long corridor, and it was there were desks there, and there were people sat at the desk. They were all in uniform. Yeah. It turned out they were retired army officers or naval or RAF.
Okay.
They were in. There was a lot of them. And I went, I had my medical, came out, and I'm walking along. I was going to leave, and this chap, old chap, always remember, bald, and this voice, Temple. So I turned round. Yes, he said, "Oh, I believe you play football, do you?" I said, "Well, yes." People say it.
Time to time.
Yeah. And he said, "Well, join our regiment, and you won't have a problem. You'll be home every week to play."
Okay.
So I said, "Oh, what regiment's that?" He said, "The King's Liverpool."
Yeah.
Which were they are a famous regiment. They amalgamated later, of course. But I said, "Oh, well, it sounds good." He said, "Yes." He said, "You'll be stationed at Freshfield or Ainsdale, because that's where our training place is."
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, that seems good." So yeah, okay. So I signed that. Well, I think it was 3 months later, I was on a troop ship bound for Kenya.
after being assured your top flight career wouldn't be unaffected.
I'm talking about it. I always say, well, the moral of that story is don't believe anything an ex-army officer says.
That's a harsh lesson, boy. But like you said, what an experience, though. I mean, it affected your football for a couple of years. But so what was that like going out to Kenya doing that?
Well, it was a bit of it was an eye-opener. Yeah. National service was, but I wouldn't have missed it. Yeah. It taught me an awful lot about life, and being 19 years old, it wasn't a bad thing to get that experience. But there were a load of scallywags in our regiment.
Okay.
There was a Liverpool regiment, and there was some... Yeah, I loaned a fella one of my shirts, never saw it again.
Okay.
My locker on the troop ship was broken into, and my camera and wallet went. Never saw them again. Yeah. And these are your mates. Yeah. But most of them would be cannon fodder, because the A regiment, C and D, they were rough.
Okay.
And, you had to watch yourself. You even... on their side. Yeah. But, and that was a great experience in Kenya. I mean, what can I say? It was came back. I was high up. It was in the Aberdare Mountains, where it was the end of the Mau Mau.
Okay, yeah, the rebellion.
Drink a lot of whites there. Didn't actually get involved with it, but you couldn't go out of a night on your own because you're like to get a knife in you or something. But we left there and came back to down south somewhere where it was, and then that just threw my time out and came out.
Okay. Yeah. What did I got a bit ahead of myself there, because I did want to mention that Manchester United game, of course. I think that was before then, wasn't it? The 57-58, of course, season. Because we had, as you know, Dr. David France came in to speak to us on there, and you mentioned that was his first ever Everton game. I mean, for you as well, scoring 2 goals, an incredible game, 3-3, and you're saying just what a great side they were, though, the Busby Babes, to play against them. I mean, what do you remember about them? Obviously, the talent that they had.
Well, I remember we went in at half time. We were 3-1 down, and I think it was Mick Megan was playing, and he said to me, he said, "We're going to get hammered here." Yeah, It was 3-1 half time. I said, it looks like it, doesn't it? But anyway, they were all over us. Yeah. And second half, I think Jimmy Harris scored, and then I scored the equaliser, and that's what it ended up. Yeah. And honestly, we got away with a draw, really. Yeah. But they were very, very good.
Yeah. And Duncan Edwards, was he playing?
Duncan Edwards was tremendous. Yeah. Played against him a few times. Tremendous player. He was a cousin of Dennis Stevens.
Oh, of course, from Everton. Yes, his cousin. Yeah.
Yes. And Dennis was a big mate of mine. Dennis was a good player. He was unlucky with Everton because he followed probably the best player I've played with Bobby Collins.
Okay, little Bobby Collins.
Bobby Collins was fantastic. Yeah. Horrible little man on the field. Yeah. Kick his grandmother if he did him something. Yeah. He was size 4 boots.
Really tiny little feet.
But he could hit a ball 60 yards, drop it on your toe. He was a great little player, Bobby, but... wouldn't like to have crossed him,
Yeah. Well, while we're on Bobby, then I'll just move forward a touch because I think it's interesting. Then the Battle of Goodison Park, as it was, Leeds. Of course. Yeah, Leeds. He came back with them.
Carried off. Huh?
Yeah. So given that happened, I mean, what do you remember then from that particular day?
Well, I remember that Labby hit a ball out to me on the Bullens roadside. Mm-hmm. I'm on the wing, and I turned. It was behind me, so I had to turn and go back for it. And Willie Bell, apparently I didn't see him because I'd got my back to him. Yeah. He threw himself and 2 feet in my back, in the kidneys. And I go down, he goes down, because that's the way they were well versed, in all the tricks. So,
the dark arts, we call it now.
Well, they still do it now. You see fellas kick a lump out of a bloke and then go down as though he'd been, and it's cheating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cheats in the game, now even, or more so, I would say.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got carried off, and in the dressing room, the physio was looking at me. I was okay, actually. I was lucky. But it was right in the back, in the kidneys, so it could have been a bad injury, but it wasn't. And I went, when you're young, you can get away with these things. Yeah. If you're older, you might react differently. But the two managers came in and the referee into the room where I was on the table, and they said, "What are you doing, ref?" He said, "I'm don't know." He said about this. He said that. So these two said, the two managers, Revy and Catrick, said, "Listen, you better take them out. There's going to be a riot."
Yeah.
Sorry, the other way round. He said, the referee said, "There's going to be a riot out there, the way it's going." And they said, "If you don't go back out, there'll be a riot."
Yeah, that thing, gets called off. Yeah.
So he took them out, and then I went out. Yeah. And I wasn't a kicker, forwards aren't greased in the arts of kicking. Yeah. Because the thing about forwards, you're always playing with your back to the play.
Yeah. So you don't know.
And these fellas at the back just come straight through you because
especially them. Yeah.
So that's what was happening there, and I spent the rest of that match trying to kick Willie Bell, but as I say, if I'd have caught him, I'd have been sent off. It would have been so obvious,
Yeah. Obviously, even back then, weren't they? They were known as Dirty Lees, but I'm told Everton gave as good as they got, possibly that day.
We had a few players who could look after them.
Yeah. So just going back a little bit again, because obviously you're mentioning, obviously by that point, Harry Catrick was in charge. But when you came back from your national service, that was Johnny Carey, wasn't it? So
Johnny Carey, yes, he came in. I didn't like him, actually.
Okay.
Perfectly honest. He was a very sarcastic man.
All right.
And I wasn't just me. There were other players who agreed with me. Yeah. We agreed. He could be very, very sarcastic. And I liked his ideas on football.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he had very good ideas. In my mind, he had the thing where when we were training, only the goalkeeper stops it, the ball.
Yeah.
That meant that when you were playing, you only had one touch.
Yeah.
And if you play one-touch football and get it off to an art, you can't be touched.
No,
you walk through teams. What's the name of Grace, is it? Man City.
Yeah.
Brilliant. The control.
Yeah.
You know where it's going before it reaches them,
But personality-wise, so when he was replaced by Harry Catrick, was that the time when I was trying to kind of move your position as such? How did that work in that you could play inside forward as well, couldn't you, and out on the wing? How did things change on the Harry then when he came in?
Well, Harry was he first of all got the defence sorted. He was. Used to say, you're going out there with it was then 2 points for a win.
Yeah.
One for a draw, of course, and nothing if you lost. Yeah. But he'd say, you're going out there with a point. Yeah. Now, don't come back with less than a point.
Yeah.
So he meant don't lose.
Yeah.
And that he was always very keyed up on defensive strength. Which was, it's a good thing in a way because, let's face it, if you don't give goals away, you win games.
Yeah.
It's logical, isn't it?
Was he quite a disciplinarian, though? We heard about not necessarily... What was he like in terms of... Was much as him as a tracksuit manager, or did he leave that to the staff and he was overseeing things?
If he came out of Belfield in a tracksuit, you knew that either... The journalist and cameramen were coming.
Okay.
Or John Morse.
Okay, yeah.
So we all knew.
Yeah.
Harry. But.
Yeah. And in terms of, I was just looking at how it went season by season, and then you did well towards the end of 61-62, 10 goals in 17 games, but then you were injured in the title-winning campaign, 62-63, but then came back, you scored an important goal at West Ham.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, how frustrating was that to be injured, obviously, through that season?
One of those things, you know, I got injured in training, actually. I trod on the ball, I got to the line, I was going to cross it, and my foot slipped off over the ball, and my ankle turned. I was running fast, and my ankle went that way, and I went, but all my weight went, and all the ligaments tore off the bone. Yeah. So that put me out for most of the season, although I did recover from that. When I recovered, I started getting pain in my knee, left knee. Yeah. And they kept insisting, the physio, you're imagining it. And I said, well, you know, I know what's there. Yeah. Anyway, they had an X-ray. There were no scans then, but they had an X-ray, and they found that the cartilage was torn. Right. So I wasn't imagining it. So the next thing, bonfire night, I was in one of the nursing homes in South Liverpool. Right. And had the operation, had it taken out. Okay. Cartilage. Yeah. And then it was a long job. Now they don't take the cartilage out, they repair it. Yeah. But back then, and you're out for a couple of weeks. It's amazing now. Yeah. That's one of the big things about football, I think, that medical science generally is come on, but so is the science about injuries, you know. Yeah. But I mean, you showed your demand for the big occasion. I mean, that summer, the 63 Charity Shield, was it 4-0 against Manchester United? You got yourself on the score sheet? Yes. That day, do you remember? I mean, that's a great occasion, isn't it, to have the Charity Shield at Goodison Park? Do you remember much about that particular game? No. I remember we played extremely well. Yeah. But we were a very, very good side. And Goodison was like a fortress. Yeah. And teams didn't like coming there because, as you mentioned before, Chris, you know, we had players who could look after themselves. And, some of the London teams didn't like coming down here. Yeah. That's another story. And I was also looking at some of the other highlight games that stand out. Obviously, there was also a 4-0 win at Anfield in which you scored. That's right. Scored the first goal that day. I remember that. It came out from a corner, and I was just on the edge of the box, so banged it back in, went in. Yeah. Well, I can't imagine how Bill Shankly might have taken that one. Well, we know he locked the team in the dressing room after the match. Really? Yeah. And he berated them, which Bill could do, you know. I mean, he was a very funny man. He was, without knowing it, he was a very funny man. Right. He came out with things that, you know, he wouldn't think were funny, but they were hilarious, a lot of the things he came out with. But he was a good bloke, Bill. Yeah. And then, of course, with winning the league in '63, that brought European Cup football as well to Goodison Park, and unfortunate because obviously he ended up getting Inter, wasn't it, in the first game there. First round we were in, yes. Yeah, it was unfortunate in terms of the way that the draw panned out. But I just wanted to ask you, we mentioned before, obviously England, because you got into the side, and I was checking the records there. You played against West Germany a year before the World Cup final in Germany. Was it Nuremberg? Nuremberg, correct. And you set the goal up for Teddy Payne. So that's right. You couldn't really have done much more, really. No, I mean, what happened there, Chris, you see, was Alf had his own ideas about the game, and he played without wingers in the World Cup. Yeah. You know, this is where the wing-backs came in. He had two very quick full-backs, didn't he? Yeah. Cohen and Wilson. And he utilised them. Yeah. Overlapping pace, again, coming back to that. Yeah. And it worked for him. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was in the... I think he named 40 for the squad for the first game, or the group. And I was in it, but then I missed out. It came down to 23, I think. Yeah. I'm not sure, but I missed out on that. But it would have been nice to have had a Cup Winners' Medal and... World Cup Winners' Medal, yeah. Ray Wilson did, of course. Yeah. What was Ray like to play? Because, I mean, I suppose, obviously the modern fans won't have seen too much from him, and it was a different sort of role for a full-back then. He wasn't necessarily... Yeah. Wasn't a big lad, right? You know, he was lightly built, but quick, sharp. Never went in for kicking people. He didn't have to. You know, he read the game very well.
Yeah.
And I think the two, Cohen and Wilson, you wouldn't have got a better pair of fullbacks than they improved in the World Cup.
Yeah. I suppose that was another thing about Alf. Like you said, obviously his system, but he was also very loyal to his players. So the likes of yourself and Colin Harvey as well, just with the one cap, weren't able to sort of infiltrate that on a longer basis.
No, but he did select me for the 57. Was it? Not the 57. It couldn't have been that. We ended up in a competition in Canada. Canada, America. I'm not sure. And he selected me for that.
Yeah.
Because I think Harry might have dropped me. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because Ray Wilson, I remember Ray Wilson saying to Alf, Harry won't be pleased with you, Alf, because he could talk to him like that.
Yeah.
You know? And he said, why? He said, you've selected Derek in your party, he said. He said, well, Derek's never let me down, so, you know, so fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll come on to that. That's 1966 Cup run. And I was just looking back, actually, Derek. Obviously, he famously scored the winner in the final, but other than the semi-final, I believe you scored in every round that year. I was just checking my notes here. They've got third round against Sunderland, 3-0. Mm-hmm. Fourth round, he went down to non-league Bedford, scored 2 there. Mm-hmm. Fifth round, Coventry City again.
Yes.
And then the second replay against Manchester City at Molineux. Scored
that was a funny goal. I remember that one because it was they came out at Molineux, you know, and we swore they were on drugs because they buzzed and they were so much quicker than us. They were going like the clappers.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get near them.
Yeah.
But they didn't score. Wesley made a couple of good saves. And then we got a free kick, and Scotty floated it over. I was stood out on the far post, but away from the goal a little bit. As it was coming, I could see where it was going to drop. And I ran in with the intention of heading it.
Yeah.
But as I got near, I slipped.
Right.
So, and it came here then, and I'd volleyed it with my left foot. It flew in.
Yeah.
It was close to the goal.
Yeah.
You know, it was only about from here to the glass there, but it flew in, so we were 1-0 up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fortune was in there, you know. Oh. But coming back to the cup run, I remember that was in the that about scoring in every round was in the programme the other week, I think. Yeah. I actually assisted for the goal in the semi-final.
Okay, so you had a...
Colin bobbled one in, you know.
Yeah, against United,
He bobbled it, and it bobbled in.
So you were up for the cup that year, scoring in every round and then setting up the winner in the semi-final. Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny how it worked out. Because back then, of course, the FA Cup, I mean, it was trying to relay this to maybe younger viewers. Such a big thing back then, as well as big as the league are in some ways. Bigger, more the
league was far harder to win.
Yeah,
but the cup had the glamour.
Yeah. What do you remember from the actual day beforehand? Then at Wembley and going down there to play Sheffield Wednesday. Were you nervous? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I think you know if you're not nervous, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah,
but we went down to a place called Goodison Park, which was a lovely hotel with a golf course right next door to it. We didn't play golf, of course, but then that was in, I think it wasn't far from Croydon.
Okay, so South London, yeah.
Yeah, a very nice place. And then, of course, on the day, you go in, all the fans, fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
But bus could hardly move through them. You know, it's
really,
yeah, tremendous, wonderful experience. Mm-hmm. And people say, "Well, didn't they get to you the noise?" And you say, "You don't hear the noise when you're playing.
No,
you're so concentrated on the game. You could be playing on the park down the road or something. You know,
yeah.
But you forget it's Wembley.
Yeah,
but the pitch was. I was disappointed in that respect because I think the week before they'd had a horse parade or something.
Okay.
And it was soft.
Right.
So when we got on there'd been divots taken out, and what they'd done, they'd filled it with sand, but the sand had been dyed green.
Okay, to make it look like the pitch was okay, yeah.
Filled these divots and then rolled it.
Yeah.
Look, but from the outside, perfect.
Yeah.
But it wasn't,
Yeah, but of course you'd started as favourites. You'd not conceded a goal throughout the whole run, and then you're 2-0 down.
Within a minute or two, I think we were 1 down, weren't we?
Yeah.
Well, Ray Wilson, it hit Ray's... Westy had it covered.
Yeah.
It hit Ray's heel and went in the other corner.
Yeah.
And you think, blimey, that's a bad start. But we were confident in ourselves.
Yeah.
We knew we could play, and we'd already hammered them, I think, in the league.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it'd ever been done, though, had it? I don't think in the cup final, a team recovering from a 2-0 deficit to come back and win.
Previously.
Right, okay. 3-1, sorry, yes. Yeah. Up from 2-0, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, oh no, but it would. If you were being a betting man, you'd have been putting on Sheffield. But we just carried on. Harry, at half time, said, just carry on, play your system.
So you weren't panicking,
No, we knew we could outplay them, if you like.
Yeah, and before we come to your goal, Mike Trebilco, because obviously you were a long-serving Everton player. He didn't play much for Everton, but that was his day.
Well, come up the man.
Yeah.
It's he's all right, Mike. He's a good little player, good goal scorer. He didn't play much in the first team, but wherever he played, he could notch the goals, He had that just... It's I don't know. You have it or you don't.
Yeah.
He could get on the end of things,
Yeah.
And he got. I headed the first one down to him actually, and he knocked that in. And I listened to him on radio a couple of months later. I was working with next year. It wasn't a couple of months, and I was driving, and it was on the radio, and it was talking about people who'd scored 2 goals at Wembley. And he was describing his goals, and I was killing myself laughing when I was driving, because he said, well, the first one, Derek Temple headed it down to me, and he said, I looked up and I saw the goalkeeper moving to his right, so I put it to his left.
Yeah.
I think that was it. He said, that was the first one. And he said it was vice versa, the second. I saw him going the other way.
Yeah.
And I thought, you didn't. He just hit them.
You just hit them. Yeah. But it was a massive call, though, from Harry Catterick, wasn't it? I mean, Fred Pickering, obviously, was the established...
Fred would have broken down. He wasn't fit.
Yeah.
And that... the pitch wasn't in good nick with it being uneven, the bounce for us.
Yeah.
Although we played very well. If Fred had turned out, it was still... It had the reputation of finding injuries out.
Yeah.
And he wasn't fit. He'd have broken down, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he was a great goal scorer, Fred. Boomer, we called him.
Yeah.
Because when he hit the ball, it boomed,
Oh, yeah. And before we get to yours as well, I mean, the fans were on the pitch. They said that Eddie Cavana is still that infamous scene. I mean, you obviously kept your heads despite all the distractions from the supporters.
Well, Eddie had been on Everton's books,
Right.
And with his younger brother.
Okay.
They'd been kids on the book.
Yeah.
Everton. And Eddie was a character.
Yeah. Putting it lightly, isn't it?
Well, I think he had about 12 kids to 12 different.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
He'd have done well to have been on that ship to Kenya with you, though, hadn't he? A few years.
Yes, he was a rum one.
Yeah.
Eddie, but I saw him afterwards. I said, "How did you go on when they threw you out?" He said, "I got back in."
Went straight back in, watched the rest of the game. So he was there to watch your big moment. I mean, if you watch it back now on YouTube, I think it's a really difficult chance because you got so much thinking time for that chance. I mean, can you remember it in your mind's eye?
Yes, you do. It presents itself to you. The ball was cleared by Colin Harvey from say the right back position he was in at that time, and he just cleared it upfield. Now I was outside left, but this was up on the right wing where the ball went.
Okay.
And Jerry Young he was playing as a sweeper, which he wouldn't normally have been doing, but the fella named Garth Vic Mobley was injured, and they brought young Sam Ellis in to Sheffield Wednesday, and he was sort of, they played, who's the lad missed the ball? I've just said his name up.
Which one was it? The
It went under his foot.
Okay, we can check that. Yeah.
Anyway, he was playing at sweeper.
Yeah.
Because of the young centre half.
Yeah.
Well, he was, as it turned out, he was the last man at that stage, the sweeper, and I just ran towards him, hoping that he might not get it properly, and I might be able to nip in and of course, I wasn't expecting him to miss. He went to trap it, and it went to his foot and beyond him. Yeah. Well, of course, I'm running, facing that way. He's got to turn, so I had a lead on him straight away. And I was running through, and I had time to look up a couple of times. And Ron Springer was England goalkeeper around that time, I think. He was a good keeper, Ron. Yeah. And I looked up first, and he's sort of in a good position for where he should be. He's an experienced keeper. Carried on, because I ran probably half the length of the field, near enough. Yeah. Before hitting it, and I had time to think: shall I chip it or not? Now, if I'd have chipped it, I bet it had gone straight into his arms. So I just took it on, and on the edge of the box, it sat up nice. The ball, it just came up off the pitch, so you could get it like a volley on it, and I hit it well. If once it lifted off the pitch, you can get more power in it. Okay. And I hit it, and it went about this height. I think he might have got his fingertips to the keeper, but it didn't. He stopped. Well, then, of course, you say, "How do you feel?" I said, "Relieved." Yeah. Because in that situation, it is a very difficult situation for the forward. But if I'd have missed it, well, I wouldn't be talking to you now. I don't.
No. Well, you didn't know, did you? I mean, what a moment! A Liverpool lad scored the winning goal for Everton in the FA Cup. I mean, it must be all the friends and family. I mean, can you remember what that was like, going back to them and all the people you knew?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was it was a great occasion. Yeah. We had a great night. Yeah. That night. Yeah. It's there in history now, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So.
Were any of your family at Wembley that day? Did anybody come down?
No. That was another thing you see about tickets. They clamped down on how many tickets you could have. Yeah. So I had family who wanted to. I got a couple of. You got so many 2 seat tickets and 2 ground tickets, I think. Yeah. Well, I had to exchange my seats for ground tickets. Yeah. To get some more tickets. Yeah. So, but I did manage to get to. I paid for my father-in-law and my dad to go down there. Yeah. And stay in a hotel in London. Yeah. And they had, they were made up with that. Yeah.
Oh, that was nice then, at least. Yeah. And then he was one more full season at Everton, and then I think did you go in the September of '67? Yes. I mean, was that a big decision for you to make at the time?
Well, yes, it is. But it came about because it was after training one day, and Harry came up to me. He said, "Jimmy Milne from Preston wants a word with you." Yeah. So I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said. He said to me, "You can have a word." I said, "I don't want to." I said, "I don't want to leave Everton." Yeah. He said, "Oh, we'll have a word with him. He's come all this way from Preston."
No, not that far. Then. Okay.
I thought, well, you see the writing on the wall, don't you? Then, and he said. Have a word. So I went to see him, and Jimmy was Milne's dad. Yeah, he was a nice man. Gordon later on, he was player manager of Wigan when I went to Wigan from Preston.
Okay.
Anyway, I went to Preston, and it was like Butlin's holiday camp after Everton.
Really? Yeah.
The training was not as intense by any means.
Yeah.
As was, you know.
Yeah.
But nice little family club, but not particularly well run.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a division down.
Of course. Yeah.
Second division.
Yeah.
Sure. It was all right, but you eventually, you know, I was quicker than nearly everybody I played against, but eventually you come down to their level.
Okay, yeah.
You start struggling.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Bobby Collins before then. Who else kind of stands out amongst, like, because there's so many great players who you played alongside at Everton as well, different positions as well.
Yeah. Alex Scott was a great winger, you know.
Yeah.
He was big for a winger.
Yeah, stocky. Yeah.
Flying waiter.
Yeah.
Run like that.
Yeah.
So he had a tray in his hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got him the flying waiter. Good bloke, Scotty.
Yeah.
All the lads were great. Yeah.
Did Labby come through a similar time to yourself as well?
Yes, Labby. Yeah. He was all right. He came in, didn't he? He did well, Labby, with England as well.
Yeah.
Goalkeepers, Westy.
Yeah.
But I think all goalkeepers are crazy.
Yeah, well, he particularly was. I was fortunate enough to meet him a few times in retirement, but
Crackers, he was a crazy man, but good keeper.
Yeah.
Good keeper. Who else would there be? Ray Wilson was quite a funny little fella, Ray.
Yeah. What was Alan Ball like? Because very demanding man, wasn't he?
Ball, he was very, how could I put it, emotional.
Yeah.
Very, might cry after a game, you know.
Really? Yeah.
Well, if he thought we hadn't done our jobs, we'd be in tears. He didn't. He was so committed.
Yeah.
But he was a great little player. Only when, if we got on top of a team, he used to take the ball and sit on it.
Yeah.
You know, he did. It was not very good, actually, I didn't think.
Not very sporting.
Over the top.
Yeah.
But anyway, but then he'd stand up, and if you were he'd give you the ball. Well, of course, these fellas are running.
They're ready to, yes.
They're running to him, so he gets up, gives you the ball. He just changed the...
Yeah.
And
he was soft. Yeah.
Up in the air.
Yeah.
But because he made them so irate, you know, doing what he did.
Yeah.
But he was a great little player ball. His little high, shrill voice.
Yeah.
You know, he was funny.
Yeah. As we're speaking today, we've mentioned this before we went on it's a day before we get the fixtures. We find out what the last ever game at Goodison Park will be. I mean, just given all your great memories at Goodison, what do you think you will miss the most about it as a football ground?
Well, the crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd. I mean, as I said, it was like a fortress when I played with the team we had. And the crowd got behind you. And, you know, they see the other team wilting a bit, you know, because they lifted us so much.
Yeah.
But we played exciting football.
Yeah.
Which got the crowd, you know, lifted. Because when you look at some of them, like Youngie, little wizard, really, with the ball, you know, clever. Roy Vernon, tremendous.
Yeah.
So cool. Mm-hmm. I think I saw him miss one penalty.
Right, in his whole time. Yeah.
So cool. He was brilliant. Taffy. And he wasn't built like an athlete.
No.
You know, you wouldn't think he played football.
Yeah, when Brian LeBeau described him like Pinocchio or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but smoked about 50 a day. Go through a bottle of scotch. And you know, he was... He was a rum lad. It was Taffy. Confident.
Yeah.
Confident, oozed out of him. He and that transmitted to you as well. You know, that's what you want. You want players who know what they're capable of and what the players around them are capable of. Because you know, he brought Tony Kay in.
Yeah.
Harry, and Tony was a very, very good player.
Yeah.
It just had this reputation of being a dirty player.
Yeah.
And sometimes players try and live up to that side of the reputation. I think he did. And it didn't do him any good, you know, because he'd be in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
But he could play.
Yeah.
He could play all right. Unfortunately, he got involved in this betting thing, which was, you know, was against the rules, so he knew.
Yeah.
Well, they were all... Brian Harris was a very good player.
Yeah.
He was unlucky when... he was unlucky when he got left out for Tony Kay.
Yeah, wing half,
Of course, he came back.
Yeah, played in the cup final, yeah.
He came back because Tony was banned.
Yeah, true.
And then he had a lot of young players, like you mentioned earlier, Chris, about the European thing we played into. Mm-hmm. Well, the big thing about that was Colin Harvey made his debut.
Yeah, he thought he was only there to carry the skips, didn't he?
Over there, and he's a tremendous player.
Okay, but I mean, I suppose, like you said, the biggest thing you miss at Goodison is the crowd. But of course, they're going with the club, aren't they, to the new stadium? I mean, have you seen much of it? Does it excite you?
On the train coming in. Yeah. Big thing that bothers me. How about parking?
Well, yeah, you're right. It's only got on the three sides, isn't it? I mean, yeah. It'd be an issue. Won't it? Have to hope that the transport is all right. But it is a lovely spot, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Let's hope it's a lucky stadium for us. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It'd be tremendous. It'd be great to play there, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Terrific. Yeah.
New stadium.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Derek Temple.
Not at all, Chris.
And this has been the latest edition of Goodison Park, My Home.